let's just start with this extraordinary story that it keeps unfolding, and I can't quite believe week after week we're still here with more documents, and yet we are. New allegations about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor overnight. Should the Met investigate this latest allegation?
Well, I mean, what the allegations that we've seen today and the images are deeply disturbing. Nobody can look at those and feel anything other than revulsion. I think the most important thing we can do, and the way to handle this, is to focus on the interests of the victims. There are an awful lot of young women who have experienced incredible levels of abuse, clearly. And anybody who has got information or insight that they can share that will help shine a light on what's gone wrong and help bring about closure and hopefully some sense of justice for those victims should share it. And that includes Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who I do believe should testify.
You agree with the Prime Minister he should testify before Congress?
He should testify. I mean, there are different ways to testify. You can testify online, you can go in person, but to not share information, if you have it, that might bring closure to these women who have suffered so badly, it would be wrong not to.
His dukedom and titles have gone, but he remains in the line of succession. Should Parliament legislate to remove him from the line of succession?
I don't think there's any realistic prospect of him becoming king.
But it's the principle, though, isn't it? I mean, he remains, the government's position and the king's position is that he's not good enough to be a duke or a prince, but he's still there on the royal family website right now as eighth in line to the throne.
Well, he's not going to become king of this country. I think the king was right to take the action he took in stripping Andrew of his title.
He's still living on the king's property, though, isn't he? And he's presumably giving Andrew financial support. Is that appropriate?
He's being removed from the Royal Lodge, so there won't be any taxpayers' money going.
The difference between taxpayers' money and private royal money, as you know, is very difficult to distinguish sometimes.
But there is a difference, and I think we should recognise that. And,
he gets a lot of money from the Crown Estate.
I pay credit to the king. The king has taken what must have been a difficult decision for him and the royal family, and it's right. If he had not done what he did,
we still don't know if the royal family paid for the money going to the Virginia Giuffre. The king and the royal family have been anything but transparent about this issue. They've never had any inquiry into exactly what the royal family and the institution knew about what was going on in his relations with Epstein. Do you think the royal family should have an inquiry into what was known?
I think there should be transparency. I think there should be transparency, and I don't think we should extend, the allegations touching one member of the royal family to all the rest. I think that would be unfair on the king. The king took action when he needed to take action. If he hadn't, today your lines would be full of people calling for him.
Should Lord Mandelson testify before Congress?
I think, I said before, anybody who's got information to share and can help shine a light on what went wrong should do that. So I do think he should share what he knows.
The links between Mandelson and Epstein seem to deepen with each tranche of documents that are published.
Yeah.
They now include descriptions of payments, perhaps totaling $75,000. Mandelson says he's not aware of them. A picture of Mandelson in his underpants. I mean, is there still a place for Mandelson in the House of Lords as a Labour peer?
It's for Mandelson to speak for himself, I think, not for me. I don't know.
No, but I didn't ask you about what he'd done. I mean, I'm just saying, should he still be in the House of Lords as a Labour peer?
He's not. He's taken a leave of absence, and therefore he doesn't have the Labour whip at the moment.
But the king stripped, and you just praised the king for stripping Andrew of his titles. You could strip him of his peerage. You could ask the king to do the same thing. Will you?
There are currently allegations against somebody. He's denied, as I understand it.
Well, there are only allegations against Andrew.
Well, he's denied the allegations that you just...
and Andrew denies all the allegations against him, but
there was a payment by Andrew, obviously not accept any wrongdoing, but there was a significant payment.
But are you comfortable with... Let's just be clear. Are you comfortable with Peter Mandelson being in the Labour Party and in the House of Lords as a Labour peer, yes or no?
He's not a Labour peer.
Well,
he's currently taken a leave of absence.
He's a leave of absence, but he still has a peerage.
So technically, he's not a Labour peer. What I want to do...
So he hasn't got the Labour whip in any sense?
No. What I'd like to do...
Are you sure about that?
What we all need to do... it's very easy to jump to conclusions.
Well, all right, should he be in the Labour Party?
To impose sanctions before you know what's actually gone on. It makes for a quick headline, but I don't think it's the right way to go about this.
You praise the king for taking Andrew's title. Well, then why aren't you taking action then?
Well, there hasn't been a payment from Peter Mandelson to any victim. In fact, Peter Mandelson denies still any knowledge.
But he has apparently taken money from him.
Well, he's denying that too. No, it's not for me.
He's not aware of it.
It's not for me to answer for Peter Mandelson. It's not for me.
He wasn't good enough to be our ambassador. It was the Prime Minister sacked him as ambassador because he clearly thought that it wasn't appropriate. So I'm asking you whether you think it's appropriate he should remain in the Labour Party and as a Labour peer, because he still is a Labour peer. He might have taken a leave of absence, but he is a Labour peer.
What happened over the ambassadorship was because assurances that had been given turned out not to be true, and you can't have that. So the Prime Minister took that correct decision. With the latest revelations, allegations, whatever you want to call them, we really do need to understand what's gone on, and they're disturbing to look at. I feel the same way as other people will feel when they saw that picture of Peter Mandelson in his underpants, when he's telling us he doesn't know anything about what's gone on. Well, let's have some honesty. Let's have some.
So is there a process to establish what's gone on?
Well, I've already said people should come forward if they have information to share. I hope he'll reflect on that. And what this image may or may not show.
Let's move away from the image of that picture, shall we, and turn instead to your own area. In your manifesto, you promised the biggest boost to affordable and social housing in a generation. Of the 1.5 million homes you promised, how many will be social housing and affordable?
I think it's about 300,000 will be social and affordable. This month, Lewis, we're opening bids to the Social and Affordable Homes programme, which is £39 billion worth. That will deliver the biggest increase in social and affordable homes in a generation. We can start to replace the reduction in council homes, social rent homes that we've seen over recent decades, and start to rebalance the different tenures of housing that we need to make the housing market in this country.
Will your house building programme bring house prices down?
I don't think it will, because you would need a much more dramatic increase in house building to make that effect happen.
So for what it will
do is make first-time buyers make homes more affordable for first-time buyers. That is a very important part of this mix, because when I was in my 20s, I was able to go and rent somewhere. When I was in my 30s, I bought my first flat. Young people today are routinely living with their parents into their 30s.
If it's not going to bring the prices down, how will it make it more affordable?
Well, it will make first-time homes cheaper.
So it will bring some house prices down?
No, well, these are additional homes that will make them cheaper. If you're building a lot of flats or smaller homes in a particular area, they become more affordable. But the increase in supply isn't enough to reduce the values of people.
Because you're aware, of course, that the average house price compared to the average income is now 8.3 times.
You're right. I mean, we have the highest housing costs in.
Is that going to come down
as a proportion of people's incomes? Well, a lot of the changes we're making are intended to reduce housing costs. The fact that interest rates.
Sorry, I'm probably being thick, Housing Secretary, but I don't understand if they're not going to bring the prices down, how can they reduce housing costs?
Well, interest rates have come down 6 times in a row.
As a result of the weakness of the economy. That's nothing to do with you.
Because of stabilising the economy, that work that the Chancellor has been. You see what happened.
The economy is weaker
rates.
and therefore more stable.
Do you remember what happened to interest rates under Liz Truss and Chris
Normally
Phil, who might be coming in here later?
When interest rates come down, it's usually a sign the economy is not doing so well.
Interest rates went through the roof, and so did people's mortgages. Now the economy is stabilising, interest rates are coming down. That's worth £1,500 to people paying a mortgage. We've just got the Renters' Rights Act through Parliament, comes into force on the 1st of May. That will protect people from unreasonable rent increases or rent increases during the year if they're renting a property. That's keeping housing costs lower for people. So we're taking action to lower the cost of housing and to make housing more affordable, but the increase in supply is not so drastic that it will lower the cost of the value of people's homes.
You promised in your manifesto, to end the feudal system, or bring the feudal system to an end.
Yep.
Why is it still here?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing, Lewis. So this week we've announced the leasehold reform bill, which was introduced into Parliament last week. It's now going through scrutiny, pre-legislative scrutiny, and it does a number of things. One of those is it caps ground rents at a maximum of £250 a year. I had somebody in my advice surgery in the constituency on Friday currently paying £650. They're going to see a reduction of £400 in the ground.
That's ground rent. So by the end of the Parliament, will anyone in this country still be living in leasehold flats?
If people will be, but the new legislation will mean that no new homes being built.
So how does that promise with your? How does that tally with your promise in your manifesto to bring the feudal leasehold system to an end?
It's the biggest reform for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I know, but in your manifesto, you said you'd bring it to an end.
We're going to bring it to an end. We're on
but
the
you're
pathway.
not. You just said that people who are living in leasehold flats at the end of this Parliament will still be in leasehold flats.
You're being a little semantic, to be honest.
No, I'm just looking at the words in your manifesto and applying them to reality.
We're putting the country on a path to ending it. We're capping ground rents so people don't have to pay through
You didn't say in your manifesto that you're putting the country on a path to end it. You said that we will bring the feudal leasehold system to an end.
And it will. In the next few months, we're going to announce the results of the consultation we launched last summer, which is about bringing transparency and control into service charges, which is the single biggest issue raised with me at the constituency.
You got scared, didn't you, by investors and pension funds?
And we're going to give people the powers they need to convert leasehold into common hold so that the people living in a block of flats own the land.
So to be clear, it's a manifesto break.
It's a promise made, and it's a promise being delivered. We're ending leasehold, we're capping ground rents, we're giving people control over their service charges, and we're going to give people ownership of the land on which their home is built.
Do you think that
adds up to the end of leasehold?
Do you think that the words "bring the feudal leasehold system to an end" tallies with the feudal leasehold system still being in place by the end of the Parliament?
We're bringing an end to the feudal leasehold system. It's the biggest reform in leasehold for 1,000 years. It's a hangover from the medieval era, and we're getting strong backing from all the leasehold campaigns for the work that we're doing. No government for 1,000 years has been more radical than this government, and most people, Lewis, think that's a very good thing.
I just wonder, the Chancellor this week said that student loan system as it currently exists is fair. A basic rate taxpayer pays 20%. Add in a 9% student loan and 8% national insurance, you're close to 40% marginal tax rate. Do you think that's a fair way for young people at the very start of their working lives to go into the world of work?
Well, we have a big increase in the number of people going to university and getting degrees, and that's a good thing. On average, they will earn more than their peers who don't have a degree, so they're asked to make a contribution back for the education that leads to them earning more later in life.
You know the minimum wage?
If we didn't do that, you have to look at what the alternative would be. If we didn't do that, we would be asking people who didn't get the benefit of a university degree and who on average pay less to pay more tax in order to fund a bigger share of
the Chancellor says that you only pay it back when you're in a position to do so.
Yeah, but you've kept back until you're earning about £30,000.
No, it's 25,000 actually. It's 25,000.
It's just under 30,000.
Well, it's the Sunak government put it at 25,000. You're keeping it between the current threshold between 25,000
and 28,000.
Well, as I understand it,
it's just under 20,000.
So 22, but the minimum wage is 22,000. So whether it's 25,000 or 28,000, it's just above the minimum wage. So are we really saying that those students are in a position to pay it back who are earning just more than the minimum wage?
Unlike any other loan that you can think of, after 30 years, it's wiped out. So if you are on lower pay as a graduate, you don't ever have to pay anything, and after a period of time, it is wiped out.
Unlike any other loan that I can think of,
the
interest rate keeps accumulating to the point that people can't pay it back. It isn't a loan as we know it. The people who are on the lowest and middle incomes end up paying more than the highest earners because they pay it off more quickly. It's not a loan, it's a graduate tax, and it's a bad graduate tax.
It has features of a graduate tax.
A bad one.
That is true, but I think we had to find a way to pay for the increase in people going to higher and further education that didn't disadvantage those people who don't go and get that education. These people earn more, so I think it's only right they should pay.
One final thing. What does it say about number 10, that the Mayor of Greater Manchester is openly accusing those around the Prime Minister of lying?
I haven't seen that particular allegation, but if you're talking about some of the background briefings, I don't like that one little bit. I think if people have got something to say, they should come on shows like yours and say it openly like I'm doing.
The Mayor of Liverpool City Region has said that the people around the Prime Minister are gutless and they hide behind the cloak of anonymity, just like the keyboard warriors they rail against. Would you agree with that?
I've just said, if people have got things to say, background briefings are not the way to do it. Come on shows like yours, Lewis, and say it openly. That's what I'm doing. I would suggest other people do that as well.
Steve Reed, Housing Secretary, thank you so much.